Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Celtic finally have a 3 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday. There is a severe weather warning. John Paul Taylor was asked if there's any chance of the game being at risk. It's only a bit of rain. He's not aware of it, and the game will go ahead as planned. In other Celtic news, when we get away from the weather, it's interesting when you see some of the publications that put out team predictions, and obviously we did our team predictions last night, and it's going to be a hard one to actually predict the team today because there's so many players back in contention. But there is one publication that put out their team, and I'm going to go through it with you just for shits and giggles, let's say. Obviously he's going to go with Joe Hart in goal in this publication, Alistair Johnston. But then the big surprise for me is he's going back with Gustav. He's bringing Gustav back into the team ahead of Nat Phillips and ahead of Cameron Carter-Vickers. Who in their right mind puts a fit Cameron Carter-Vickers back on the bench? He needs game time. He is the best defender we have. You do not bring in Gustav back into the team when Cameron Carter-Vickers is back fit. Sorry. And Liam Scales, he's got on the team. Also, Liam Scales is undroppable just now. Liam Scales will be the player to partner Cameron Carter-Vickers for the rest of the season, if you ask me. There's also Greg Taylor they've got in the team. So far, so good, except for the Gustav one. They've got Callum McGregor. They've also got Rio Hatate. Now, there's a lot of people who've been saying that we did do a poll on one of the lives last night, and 61% said Rio Hatate should be dropped. 61% of fans that were on the live said Rio Hatate should be dropped. Now, it wasn't a dig at Rio Hatate. They were basically saying Rio Hatate needs dropped and needs brought on in the 65th minute so that he can prove that he is the best midfielder that we've got. You know, get him sitting on the bench and then get him fired up to come on and prove that he is that player. He is the best Celtic midfielder that we have, and maybe that will give him the boost to actually up his form, because let's face it, and I'm going to talk about his form in just a minute, so just hold that thought a minute. And then they've got Matt O'Reilly in the team. Also, Matt O'Reilly is undroppable just now. Some of his passing has been fantastic. And he's also got the odd goal on. Then Dyson Maeda. Dyson's work rate just now is phenomenal. He can run about the pitch all day. But one of the interesting ones is Lewis Palmer to start. Lewis Palmer, that's one of the shouts that I made correct. I didn't make correct because the team hasn't been announced yet. But that's one of the ones that was in my team. I thought Lewis Palmer should start. He's better than Yang. He's had 2 goals, although one was chopped off. He can get past players better than Yang. So yeah, and then you've got Kyogo up front. Now, let's get back to Rio Hatate. Okay, so Rio has he's a top drawer player. Let's not try and say that he's not. He's a fantastic player. He was player of the year last year, and his form, let's say his form hasn't been up to it this season. Hence the reason it was dropped at the beginning of the season for the one and only David Turnbull. You know, David Turnbull repaid the Celtic manager's faith with a couple of goals at the beginning of the season. I think he scored 3 goals so far. But when you look against Lazio, right, let's look at the stats for Rio Hatate against Lazio. Against the Italian side, Hatate only got 42 touches in 72 minutes. He also made 42 passes with a low accuracy of 72%. He made 1 key pass and just 1 shot on goal. He also lost possession against Lazio 12 times in the 2-1 loss. He looks a shadow of his player, let's face it. He's not as good as what he was last season, hence the reason he was dropped at the beginning of the season for David Turnbull. Now, I'm not suggesting that David Turnbull comes back into the team. One person I would like to see in the team is Paulo Bernardo. So tell me your thoughts on that in the comments, and make sure that you give the video a massive thumbs up, as it does help with the algorithm. Now, it is a revenge game today. It is a revenge game for the club the team that put us out of the League Cup. But there's another option in midfield also. When you look at Odom, Big Odin, the warrior, the Norwegian, he has had some minutes during the season, but when he's come on, he's been impressive. Do you bring him back into the fold and start him before the one and only Bernardo? I would like to see more of Paulo Bernardo. I think he's a player that if we have him on an option to buy, not an obligation to buy, we have him on an option to buy, and we reckon we're going to get him for about the same kind of money that we got Jota. If he is half as good as Jota coming from Portugal, we need to be giving him game time. So tell me what you think about that in the comments also. Celtic Park will be driven by one thing today. And that is revenge for Kelly putting us out of the cup. Kelly are way down the league. They've got on about 7 points. They haven't had the greatest start to the season in the league after beating us in Sevco. But switching from that excitement at Celtic Park, or the lack of excitement at Celtic Park, the lack of atmosphere at Celtic Park the other night, to then playing Kilmarnock today, the fans really need to get up their game. They really need to up their game, even though it's going to be absolutely appalling weather today. And I hope everyone still manages to enjoy the game. There's no more motivation that Celtic need today than beating Kilmarnock. You know, after their cup loss, the treble was gone. The treble was gone. We have to dust ourselves down. We need to. It's a big game. It's a massive game for us. We want to extend our lead over second place team St Mirren today. We want to make sure that we get further away from them, another 3 points away from them before they kick a ball. Before the afternoon is out, another 3 points and another 3 points ahead of the Sevco, who are in third place. And you also want the Sevco, the Rangers, to get beat today purely for the fact that Hearts would then jump above them in the league, and it would push them down to about 5th in the league if the results go the right way. So what will be the message that Brendan Rodgers will send? What will be the message that Brendan Rodgers, never mind Brendan, what will be the message that Callum McGregor tells the players in the middle of the park today? You know, nights like when we win last minute goals in the league, Wednesday night was probably a bit of karma for Celtic. We've done it many, many times. We think back to a couple of seasons ago when Celtic did it up in Ross County. Tony Ralston scored an absolute cracker of a header and sent the fans absolutely wild. Maybe it's been one that's been coming to Celtic. Maybe we've been due a late goal like that against us, just so that we know what it feels like. Because let's face it, Celtic have done it many, many times. We have had a bit of a sluggish start to the season with players out injured. There's players now coming back. Cameron Carter-Vickers is one of them. Talking about Cameron Carter-Vickers, Brendan Rodgers has been talking about it, and the reason that he introduced Cameron Carter-Vickers for Nat Phillips. Look, I thought Nat Phillips had a pretty horrible game on Wednesday. It's important to get Cameron back in some game time, bleed him in slowly so that he doesn't get another injury. You've got to remember he had his knee injury and he came back, and then he got a hamstring injury which has kept him out. He is the best defender we have, and for a publication to say that Gustav should be brought back in ahead of a fully fit Cameron Carter-Vickers is just absolutely ludicrous in my state of mind. I think it's crazy. Brendan went on and said, he told the Herald, he says, look, we wanted to get him out there, we wanted to give him game time. He's trained a little bit, it was just about getting him into the game and getting him a half hour. Nat Phillips was obviously coming back, having not played a great deal. Nat Phillips hasn't, remember, before he came to Celtic, Nat Phillips his last full game was back in January or February this year. So even he's not an ideal option for Celtic at the moment. And people are saying, look, Gustav isn't up to it. I think Gustav will come on to be a brilliant player for us, but he needs given time. It's absolutely pivotal just now that we have our best players in. Managing the game time is what Brendan is paid for. Managing the game time of players. I think mistakes, he said, look, these things happen, mistakes happen. We have to cover each other. We give the ball away in areas of the pitch which we shouldn't have. We should have learned from that. We haven't, and we will learn from it. It seems the right decision to give Cameron Carter-Vickers 30 minutes for me. He needs the game time. Will he start today? Will he not start today? Maybe he'll come on and he'll play the first 60 minutes of the game, and then Nat Phillips will come on. Or maybe even Gustav, maybe no. You never know. He was unfortunate to get that injury at the beginning of the season, because let's face it, everyone thought that Liam Scales was probably going to be off to Aberdeen. It's fantastic news that Liam Scales has been called up to Ireland, and I think he's going to go from strength to strength as a player. I think come the end of the season, there'll be two unstoppable players and two players that cannot be dropped come the end of the season. I think that's going to be Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales at the back of the defence. It's also going to be the defence will pick itself come Christmas and the rest of the season. It'll be Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor. And a lot of people are saying we need a new left back, we want someone in to give Greg Taylor a bit of competition, if you like, because Bernaby's not giving him that competition. But let's face it, Greg Taylor has improved. 3 seasons ago, everyone at Celtic wanted Greg Taylor out, and he's improved as a player, and he's basically a first team pick now. Scotland manager was there the other night looking at Greg Taylor. Will he get called up to the Scotland team this week? Who knows? We'll soon find out. Anyway, on that note, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Starting 11, tell me you're starting 11, and have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to